think it's going. Let me set this right here real quick while I send out the link. Just give me a second here. Oh, you know, I can do it from here, I think, right? Can I? Wait. Maybe it's easier if I do it from the laptop. Just a moment. See if I can find it. Will it show up? It's not showing up just yet. Okay. Let me go ahead and share it out from here. What the? Might go away for a second while I share. I want to share this on. Will it refresh over here? We're starting a little early. I'm just getting things. Oh, there it is. I can share it over there. Cancel. Okay. You guys stay right here for just a second while I share this. Okay. Here we go. Look at that. It says it's live now. Okay, here we go. Share. Let's grab the link. Then we'll go over to Facebook. Let's see. I'm live now at the Irvine Marriott. And it's chilly out on the, and it's chilly out here. Click on the link if you'd like to join me as I begin reading the chapter Going Alone. Let's put that in. That music is loud. Going Alone in the book Going Alone. Okay. Save that. Boink. And then I'm going to save it over this other place. Save it on the softypapa channel too. We're still 8 minutes away, so this is kind of, consider this like the warm-up, getting everything configured stage. Grab that link again. Okay, getting my blankie and Teddy and a glass of milk and cookies, sitting down and waiting. Huggles. Hey, Laura. That's a very different name you've got on the YouTube. Wait, goodness gracious, where am I? Oh, here we go. Okay, save it here, share it here. You gotta share it all around, right? Not now. There it goes. That was on softypapa. Let me share this other thing. Hold on, that's not right. I think there's just one other place I want to share it real quick. Did I forget any place? Bingo, that goes. It's whatever music, kind of right. It's whatever music they've got playing here at the Marriott. I think it sounds like they just lowered the volume just a little bit. I hope so. Or maybe the song's just going away. Okay, just a moment. I think I've just about got it. Hello, hi, Spooky. Hi. Welcome. Let me just share this right here. Isn't that Ron? Spooky, isn't that you? Let me just type this real quick. Good, we're back. Yeah, it's Ron. I thought it was you. Spoozy, not Spooky. Sorry. Okay, let's see. Have I got everything? How are we doing on time? 6:25. We've got 5 minutes left. So I'll have a look around. I'll show you guys. Okay, I'm here all by my lonesome here at the Marriott, out at my usual patio seat. And it looks like they just lowered the music down, thank goodness. And so finally I'm here on time. Yeah, hey. Yeah, it's good to see you, Ron. There's the pool. And I live right across the street, right over there, that building. You can barely see the little light up right over there, so I just come over here. And it's funny because they got a Marriott right next to a Marriott. As if one Marriott wasn't enough, right? It's a very nice place, as I've shown you guys before. Very lovely. They're just getting ready for the breakfast scene. Although I was talking to the staff and they said there's not going to be a lot of people given the holidays. Yeah, it's nice. And they've got really nice Wi-Fi here. This is in Irvine. This is here in Irvine. And from best wishes from Brewster, New York. Oh, hey, hi there. And this is Irvine and Starbucks inside. See, I live right in that building with that. Well, you can't see it. That's just a light from the thing. And there's a Starbucks right over there. And then I'll show you guys real quick. Got a few minutes. Good morning. Hello, Mirkinkino. Show you. What's that? Hi, Kurt. I came to say hi. Oh, see that again. Can't see. I came to say hi and wish you all an awesome night. Have it good. Good though. Oh, hi, Jonathan. Hi. Let's take a look. So usually I sit here. I like to sit right here. And then I got this big old heavy thing. And then Starbucks is right over there. Let's head back on out. Okay, we're gonna start in just a sec. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, and so, so they just let you come into the hotel even if you're not staying there? Yeah, sure. I'm a Starbucks customer. I always buy a Starbucks. that's my in. And you know, before I did it the first time, I asked him. I said, is it cool if I just if I buy a Starbucks, if I can just hang out in the hotel lobby in the lounge? And he said, sure. So they kind of know me here now. They know what I want at the Starbucks place, and I bring my dog too. They welcome little Ollie in here too, so it's a pretty good gig. I adopted your channel from my brother, who passed away earlier this year. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. May I, if you don't mind me asking, what was your gosh, I don't know. I'm kind of flustered. I don't know what to say. I was going to ask what your brother's YouTube channel name is, but that's exactly what I just saw there. I'm so sorry to hear that. And welcome, though. Okay. We got 1 minute to go. Let me plug this in. Last time, I ran out of power. Ain't going to have that happen this time. Let me plug this in here. Then we plug in the phone, and we'll be ready to start. Let's get this framed well. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll advertise for the Marriott back there. That seems only appropriate, right? Given that they're letting me use their venue. Let's get the distance good. I was pleased. I was using the big camera before, but turns out I was pretty pleased with I was doing it mainly for the better quality audio, but I like the quality audio with this little phone, little camera. Kurt, any last thoughts about your story on the Japanese farmer? God, that made me upset today in university. Haha. Ron, about the farmer. Yeah, that was the video that I posted. A video link and videos I posted last night on the grieving process. Thanks. Your thoughts got me thought on the grieving process. Well, I'm glad that they were able to help. And again, I'm sorry. I'm kind of mixing two comments there. I'm responding to two people. Sorry. So the one question was regarding, I'll deal with both of those in turn and then I'll get started. The one was the question of the farmer the Japanese farmer, which was the lost Japanese tea farm video. Remember that farmer that invited me up into the mountains in Japan, and then I went back several years later to try to find the farm, and I'd forgotten where it was. It took me about a year to find that farm, and then hike up into the mountains to try to discover it, and I did. And of course that he had stopped coming, and it was a melancholy story, and I assumed that he was just too old and probably died. And any last thoughts? The last thought on that would be that I think that a couple of things that I picked up in Japan, although I wasn't cognizant yet of the concept of the great indifference, which is the emptiness that I encounter out in the desert, in the deep desert when I'm alone. And now that I see apparent everywhere around me, kind of hiding like with just a thin veneer of this life and livelihood, all these distractions that we have. Behind that is the great indifference, and it's quite apparent to me now. I think that events like that farmer experience in Japan built up that sense of the larger indifference, that a man could spend 50 years of his life building all of that on a mountaintop by hand, and so lovingly caring for it, and then just to have it pass into the trail that he made to the top of the mountain to just wear away by erosion, and such that I couldn't even find it initially, and then the farm just did fall to pieces, and the memory and all the love, and his wife, the memory of his wife coming up to join him each day with lunch, and all those things. I'm sure that those were instrumental. Those experiences were instrumental in my later, coming up with the idea of the great indifference, which is no novel or unique thought on my part. It's just one man's nihilism, however you say it. And on the other topic about the grieving, I'm really happy. That's not the right word. I'm pleased if any of my videos might have helped in any way. Okay, let's get started. There's 7 of you there. So let me clear my throat. Mami mumemo. When I was studied in college, I took a theater class, and the instructor said, always start with Mami mumemo when you're going to speak. So today we're going to talk about the namesake chapter of the book Going Alone, which is the chapter called Going Alone. So it started in the reading. Yeah, I am. Got my coffee. All right. Hey, Ron. Hey, Ron, by the way, your copy is, I just ordered it last night. I know I've said that. It seems like I've been leading you on for months, as so many. Gosh, I need a haircut. And I'm sorry, but I hope you'll be pleased that you had the chance to wait, because it's much better. It's much thicker. There's 2 new chapters, in almost 3 new chapters, and it's been heavily edited and revised. It's interesting. It was December 19th, 2017 when I first published this, when I first came out with it. And it's December 23rd, 2018. And I've spent the whole year in heavily editing this. This book is not the same book it was when I first released it on December 19th, which is coincidentally my brother's birthday and the retirement day of a good friend. So Ron, this is the copy that you're gonna get. Yeah, it's all right. I'm sure it will be worth it. Promise me you will write hello on the front page. Indeed, I will. So Ron, your copy will be just like this. It'll have the sticker on the bottom, although it'll be a little bit different. It'll say in big letters, be safe, but not too safe. I've been experimenting with that. And I'm really happy with the way this sticker, look at how it almost shows through. It's just the texture of the sticker, but it almost looks like the landscape behind it. That was accidental. And yours will have the, oh, thank you, Ron, on the nice design. It will have my business card, the Going Alone business card. Be safe, but not too safe, and hopefully that's not backwards. And then the contact information, website information. And yeah, I'm going to sign it to you right up there, Ron. And you're going to get a rock too from the deep water wilderness. And Ron, the rock that you're going to get will actually come from right about there. This is the edge of deep water. Yeah, which is referred to in the book. So that's where I picked it up, took it back, polished it, and it's off to you. So one of yours is on its way to you, Ron, in Israel. Just a second. I ordered all the outstanding copies last night. I'm not even gonna mess with it anymore. My goal is to get them out by the end of the year. You're very welcome, Ron. Okay, let's get started. So the way this has been working out so far, and excuse me guys, I might not be able to respond to comments. I'm going to take my glasses off for just a second. The way this has been working out, this is my 3rd book reading, and the idea was that I would deal with each chapter in turn. So starting with the introduction, no, starting with my Muse is a Corpse, which is the first chapter, not anymore because I've added 2 new chapters, which are at the beginning. And then going to The Path of Wildness, which was the second book reading. And I didn't complete the chapters in either of those. I just got about halfway through each. And then moving on from there to today, the Going Alone, the 3rd chapter. And what I'm doing is when I make this video afterwards and I download it, and I'll upload this whole thing, but then I'll parcel it up, split it up into several sections, and make smaller videos, and then add those to YouTube, and then hyperlink that into the book on the online version of the book. So for example, if you go to the online version of the book and you find this particular paragraph right there, there'll be hyperlinked at the top, the first sentence. You click on that link, it opens up the video of me talking about that particular section. So it's like if you read something, you're like, what the hell did he mean by that? You can click on it, and then there I am talking about it. Eventually, it's going to take some time, but eventually I'll get through the whole book, and the whole book will be online in that way. So let's get started. So there's my Muse is a Corpse. The 2 new chapters are called The Cast and and Siberia Bridge. And they explain basically the background. A good friend of mine suggested I needed some segue between the introduction and jumping right into it, which is my Muse is a Corpse. It's like, okay, here we go. And then we're right into the adventure and the weirdness. So I provided these 2 chapters, The Cast and the Siberia Riding Bridge, as a segue, kind of introducing the topics that will be discussed in the book. That particular friend kept on saying, I needed something to refer back to when you kept talking about these concepts. Like, what the hell did that mean? Go back and see, for example, that the Muse, what is the Muse, or what are the desert killers, for example. Let me find my chapter. There it is. Okay, here it is. So today we're going to read Going Alone, a little bit of it, as far as I can get, within about less than an hour. Or until I start shivering so much that I'm too cold. Just a second. Let me take a nice big swig. I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Our restaurant just opened. Do you have a menu?
Oh no, it's okay. I'm just gonna sit out here and read my book. Thank you for asking, though.
Yeah, no problem.
I thought they were gonna kick me out. Just wanted to give me a menu, so I could have an $18 lunch or breakfast. Okay, here we go. Oh, there's 8 of you now. Welcome everybody. You just got started. I'll peek from behind my book. Okay. Going Alone. You see, okay, so every chapter begins, there's the heading, there's a little subheading, and then a poem. And I'm heavy on Nathaniel Hawthorne. I mean, when I was reading a lot of Hawthorne when I wrote this book, and there's a lot of Hawthorne in me now, and it came through in this. There we go. Going Alone. A universe without apparent meaning. I'm going to go ahead and drop that down. Persons who have wandered or been expelled out of the common track of things, even were it for a better system, desire nothing so much as to be led back. They shiver in their loneliness, be it on a mountaintop or in a dungeon. Nathaniel Hawthorne. So that really captured me, because that comes from the House of Seven Gables, when he's talking about, I think he's referring to Clifford, the old man who had basically, the artist, who had basically lost his way in life and was basically never able to find his way back. And he's referring to that people who have wandered or been expelled out of the common track, which is what happened to Clifford, even if it were for a better system, desire nothing so much as to be led back. They shiver in their loneliness, be it on a mountaintop or in a dungeon. And that's kind of a warning of sorts, because what I'm suggesting here by sharing Nathaniel Hawthorne's thoughts here is that if you go out into the places, into the deep wild alone, you're likely to find a truth out there that you may not want to know, that you kind of can't unsee. And it may put up a wall of distance between your own self and the comfort and the common fraternity of our society and our community and the ones we love. And that's a real risk, because you may not be able to overcome it. I've struggled a bit with it. I'm back, but it was that experience, just like he said, even if it were for a better system. I think I have a better understanding of what's real now, but it is a very lonely place, and it follows me back. And it's a hard place to emerge from. I'm sorry I'm so cryptic, but maybe it'll be better as I go on. Here, this is the beginning of my own writing. So every chapter has a section, or almost every chapter has a prose section followed by the writings of the muse. So here we go, this is the prose section. And by the way, this is the part that I have a hard time writing. The prose comes very difficult to me. The muse writing comes really easy. The great indifference is a perspective which yields an improved understanding of the apparent true nature of the universe. It is a place of clear thought and relentless truth. The way there is never easy, never marked, and can only be reached in solitude, and when the only chance of return is under the power of one's own volition. What you will find there may be worth the journey, even if only you alone can understand or appreciate the prize. What I'm basically suggesting there is that the great indifference is an understanding that comes of lots of time alone in deep wild places, but it's when there's no chance of real safety or security of being rescued, and the only way back is under your own power. And what you may find there will be worth the journey, or may be worth the journey, but only you may understand. Second paragraph. There is no path to the great indifference, for followers must always lose the way. Underline the word followers. Strike out at once along the direction of your first inclination, and your route will soon be discovered. Note what you find, or do not find, as discovery alone is its own satisfaction, and whatever you later relate to others will fall like alien words upon ears plugged and deafened by fraternity, solidarity, and the warm comfort of common society. Only your fellow travelers in wildness might understand, though their own solitary venture may insulate their ears to whatever vain utterances you elect to voice. So there is no direct route there. You can, later I'm going to have a chapter, there's a chapter in the book called The Anxiety Hike, where I try to give you a path to find this. And I also warn that if you go there along the same path that I went, you won't find it. You got to find your own way. You got to find your own desert. And it can't be on any established path or route. It's because you need to disconnect. We need to be broken away from all of this to see the apparent emptiness that's out there. Basically, to discover there is no God. For followers, there's that word followers. For followers must always lose the way. If you go along someone else's path, you're not going to see it, because there's too much residue of the past connection. It's only when you break these connections, because it's these connections we have with ourselves, with others, and the things, the artifacts, I call all this stuff the artifacts of others. That is the thing that, I'll get to your question, Ron. That is the thing that gives the illusion that there's something more. That's the emptiness that you have to see. Just a second, Ron. Note what you find, or do not find, as discovery alone is its own satisfaction. And whatever you later relate to others will fall like alien words upon ears plugged and deafened by fraternity, solidarity, and the warm comfort of common society. And there it is, right? It's the fraternity, solidarity, and the comfort of society that makes it hard to perceive all of that emptiness, that yawning, aching emptiness that's out there. And let me put my jacket on just a second. I'm starting to freeze. And Ron, to your question. Ron asked me, let me just make sure I read it again. What do you mean by discovering there is no God? Morning, Kurt. Oh, how lucky food. Go out to a place like this, alone and off the trail, and so far in that you can't even perceive anymore that there's anybody out there. And be even better yet, if you're utterly disconnected, you don't use this. I'm not saying do this, but the first times I went out there in the early days of exploring, I had no rescue beacon. Go out there and look over into the emptiness. I mean, it's got to be a desert. Can't be a forest. You've got to have just like a moonscape, and you'll see a godless universe looking back at you, and you'll realize that the concept that we have of God is a superimposed dream on a reality that bears no evidence of that being true. And you can really only, or at least I was only able to see that in that type of experience. I'm not saying for certain that I know that God doesn't exist. I'm just saying that in a place like that, he or she or it are very, very well hidden and does not want to be found. Oh, nice reference. Well, thank you. I hope that help, Ron. Ooh, I'm starting to get warmed up a little bit. Okay, next paragraph. I recommend this way to those who are ready to lose, prepared to be wrong, and desirous of truth ahead of comfort, peace, or immortality. That's really important to this, right? I mean, don't go out there if you don't want your conceptions of the world or your comforting beliefs to be threatened, because they will be threatened out there, and you may lose all footing. And if you don't want that, don't go. So again, I recommend this way to those who are ready to lose, prepared to be wrong, and desirous of truth ahead of comfort. So many people are not. I mean, they'd rather be comfortable than to know what's real. Come this way for the sake of virtue, for a sound mind, an even temper, a restful heart, and at last, an honest death, an end without hope of reward, reawakening, or revelation. A fixed point of terminus punctuated upon the tail end of eternity, which is everything after the end of one's living. Now, I could pretty much wrap up the whole chapter with those particular 3 or 4 sentences right there, right? I mean, you go there, go to a place like this if you're ready to lose. You're ready to be wrong, find out that you're wrong. And you're desirous of truth ahead of comfort. You'd rather know what's real than to be comfortable. And that you're prepared for the possibility that you may be stuck with a lifetime without much peace, and no sense of that there's immortality, that there's any life after death. Come this way for the sake of virtue. The reason I say that, for the sake of virtue, is, man, discovering that really motivated me to live well and to be a better man, and to live a better life, because this is all I've got. This one life, this one chance. There's no saving up, or saving up for a better world to come. You've got to make that better world now. That's the life of virtue. For a sound mind, an even temper, a restful heart. Those 3 things, a sound mind, even temper, and restful heart, those are simply artifacts that I've discovered as a consequence of facing down the great indifference and recognizing that, looks like you're really there. And at last, an honest death. That's really important to me. Even though I believe there's nothing after death, I want an honest death. I want a death with no unfinished business, so to speak, in terms of the relationships that I have with others, the deeds that are important to me that I want to do, and the justice, where justice being defined as what we define as good. And that justice is served within the capacity of my abilities, my meager abilities. And no hope of reward, reawakening, no afterlife, or revelation, no discovery. Although there may be some revelation, I may be in for a big surprise. It's a fixed point of death, then, is a fixed point of terminus punctuated upon the tail end of eternity, which is everything after the end of one's living. I watched a woman probably die yesterday. Just a break from the book for a second. I was doing I'm a driving instructor. Is that part of the Good Life meditation? Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, kind of, no. It's, Ron, the Good Life meditation comes later in the book. You can hear this section here. See the big bold sections? Hold on. The big section of the bold, that's the Good Life meditation. And it refers to that. But yesterday, something big happened. I was doing my driving instruction thing. I was sitting in the passenger side. My student driver was on this side, an adult learner in his 40s, so he was a grown man. Fortunately, this wasn't one of my teens. And just in front of us, we watched an elderly woman plowed into at near quite a high speed by a van, and she was in her 70s, sent her flying through the air. We watched her just landed straight on her head on the pavement. I'm sorry guys, but just blood everywhere. And we got out, of course we just got out of the car, and this is a grown man next to me, so we dropped the whole pretense of student driver thing. We're just into action mode. We got there and basically watched her die in front of us on the pavement. And sorry, it was a pretty emotional experience. And I'm not even going to try to do that. I don't want to leverage that woman's death into my book. I just want to say, yeah, yeah. What's your comments? That's exactly it. I'm glad I'm sitting down right now. That in the worldview that I have, and I'm not going to leverage her death for my book. But in the worldview that I have, that end is that terminus, and the effort then is to make the best use possible of the time before that terminus comes. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay, one more sip. Man, that really shook me up. And it wasn't for the woman, although I feel for her. You know, I believe that she is no more anymore. It's for the family, you know, and the community. Because like my dad, or I think it was my wife, likes to say, it's death isn't about the dead, it's about the living, those who remain behind. The dead have no more concern. Next paragraph. The vista of the great indifference will direct your gaze to your bruised, sore, and bleeding feet, which are the instruments of your arrival in that august place. Oh my gosh, if it sounds like I'm reading dramatic, because I remember this so well, vividly. I mean, I've got it right now. I got to show you. This is gross. You guys got to say no. This is so gross. I can't believe I'm going to do this. Okay, sorry, this is my footsie. Okay, see my toe right there? All the blood under the toenail? That's all you need to see. Okay, that is the blood from my last hike, which was more than a month ago. The last hike that I did that was the Cold Gate hike. Yeah, sorry, I showed you that, Ron. That was the hike that I called the Cold Gate. That hike, you know, basically, I almost lost my toenail from that hike because it was such a hard, difficult hike, so long. Remember, I got up like at 3 a.m. and hiked many, many miles into the wilderness. There's no trails out there. You're just going up and down and all over the place and slipping and falling, and I hurt myself. I came back, I'm still recovering from that hike. And that's what I mean by, when I write right here, you know, the vista of the great indifference will direct your gaze to your bruised, sore, and bleeding feet. Because the first time I really encountered the great indifference, there's a picture out there on my channel that's this one at the top of a mountain looking back at this volcano canyon. And I actually caught it on video. I was like, holy crap. I got to the top, I looked over the edge, I was like, oh my gosh. And then after I shut the camera down, I sat down on my butt, the windy ridge up there, looking out of that thing, and I was like, I see it. This is nothing. This is a universe without God. There is nothing else beyond this. This is just, the universe is a cold, empty expanse of don't give a crap. And then the price of that was the pain and the effort that it took to get so far off course to be able to see that, because you can't see that thing here. The vista of the great indifference will direct your gaze to your bruised, sore, and bleeding feet, which are the instruments of your arrival in that august place. And of course I'm using fancy language there. August, I don't mean August like the month of August. It's lowercase August. I mean in the terms of the 19th century dark romance writers, you know, the grave, powerful, compelling place. Okay, Ron, see ya. Be right back, you say. The pain will grow intense with your notice, a gratifying reality. Yeah, every time I feel that my toe still hurts, and every time it pangs me, feet hurt, I remember the Cold Gate hike. And now I see it every time. Every time I go out there, the great indifference is just apparent to me now. So it's not such a revelation anymore, but it's a good thing to have in mind. A gratifying reality. How sweet the moment of awakening, when the uncaring, corpse-like gaze of reality makes precious the breath of this moment and the next, without thought for any breath beyond, which is only a wishful potential vapor, nor the breaths already consumed, which have dispersed to mingle with the universal atoms, and never again return orbit round our fleeting mortal constitution. Just a dramatic way of saying, coming back from the edge, the deep, deep desert out here, coming back, arriving back at my bike, stumbling through the desert, dehydrated, bleeding in places, in lots of places sometimes, worn out, grateful to be back. Makes me, I can still feel it, just, sense every breath and every step and every moment. And that carries on through the days, knowing that there's nothing else beyond that. Sorry if I keep coming back to that point, but that is the point. That is the point of going alone, is recognizing there is nothing beyond this, nothing after this. That's just wishful thinking, and to live our lives now, and leaving nothing on the table in terms of being of virtue when we go. Almost done with this prose part. One more paragraph. I'd tell you the way to the great indifference if I truly thought I could. Though if you go where I said it was found, then the telling would guarantee its absence. Go instead on your own, by your own motive force, along a way only you can see, alone and accepting of your solitude, aware you may never come back, and if you do, that you may never find words to adequately convey what you truly saw. Just my warning and disclaimer again, that you can follow my path, try to get out there, you go out to Siberia, hike out towards the Black Mountains, find your way to Campo number 1 and go a little bit further, and I guarantee you won't see it, because there's too much remembrance of me. You gotta go someplace else, but it's gotta be a desert. And the reason I underlay that point is, again, is it can't be full of life. I never saw this in the mountains of Japan. There's just too much life. Okay, we're almost 3/4 of the way through this reading. Just another 15 minutes or so. Okay, so that's the end of the prose section, which began over here, which began here. So just 2 pages of prose, and now we have the notes from my muse. Now, remember the prose section, I said that was hard to write. That takes a lot of work. I mean, you write, you edit, you write, you edit, revise until it comes out just right. It's like a labor. It really is a labor. This other stuff is notes from my muse, which in my book I set aside in italics. See? Okay. The proper prose section over here, this is center justified, standard unitalicized Bookman font. Over here, this stuff is the notes from the muse. It's left justifies italics, again, Bookman font. And it's got these little tilde thingies, marks, between each section. So I got that idea from Emerson in his book Self-Reliance, where you can pick up self-reliance and just stop. And you can do that with Marcus Aurelius's meditations as well. Stop and just read a bit, and it's like little self-contained. Every little paragraph is its own little self-contained idea. You don't have to, it's not taken out of context necessarily. I really love that, because I found that through the years I've always had a copy of Self-Reliance nearby, and I would just pick that up and have something interesting to think about. Read in a minute the little paragraph and have something interesting to think about. You can't do that so much with Thoreau. He did the whole prose thing throughout, but Self-Reliance, you can do that kind of, and you can especially do that. I got that backwards. It's Marcus Aurelius's meditations that you can do that with, and to a lesser degree with Self-Reliance. Anyway, notes from my muse. The point is, I didn't have to work at this. This stuff just comes to me. You write it down. It's done. No editing. No modification. If anything, if I was a spiritual man, I would be tempted to say that is God speaking to me, or something, an angel or something like that. The muse, that's why I call it notes from the muse. You know, the muse, the spirit that helps you to write. But I don't believe such things exist. I just believe that the muse is the conspiring of circumstance, motivation, inspiration, and available time. You know, I happen to be doing something interesting. I'm motivated by something. I'm well caffeinated, and I have a free moment to write it down, and it just spills forward. Here we go. And the writing is a little bit different. It's kind of this more poetic style. Notes from my muse. When I talk about going alone, some may think I'm referring to hiking and camping all by oneself. That's partially right, but mostly I'm referring to a mental endeavor to seek after and develop life principles without the reinforcing comfort of authority, dogma, or consensus. This doesn't require thinking up the ideas oneself, but instead of using reason to discern if a proposition is true and fits with the reality of the world around us. That's going alone. It's only coincidence that being alone in very wild places is an excellent forum for rendering truth from the abundance of comforting propositions and stories we tell one another to keep back the dark. When you're alone in the dark, there's nowhere the truth can hide. So going alone then is not about saying, screw the world, I'm going to do it on my own. No, it's about turning around, facing what's really out there, and deciding that I'm going to live with that fact and develop principles and objectives of my own based on what others have proposed before. You can borrow and steal ideas from others, but form a set of values that you can then use to live a life, to live a good life. And that's going alone. And it's only coincidence that being alone in very wild places helps us to render that truth from what I call the abundance of comforting propositions and stories we tell one another to keep back the dark. Mostly that's religion, right? We tell each other through various world religions that, okay, here's what the truth is. There's a God, he's up there in heaven, he's got a hierarchy of angels, they're looking after you, there's a bad place downstairs, your job is to ride, it's a little tough to ride in the middle path because we're fallen people, but try to do the best you can, keep it on the positive side, accept the Lord as your Savior, and you'll be in. Good job. All right. Or maybe it's a path of the Buddhists, basically overcome desire, live a life free of desire, and you will, through succeeding lives, find your way and reach a point of nirvana, of basically enlightenment, where you won't come back, and you'll be out of the wheel of it all. Whatever those are just things that people say to kind of set it all aside, so they don't do the hard work themselves. I suggest do the damn hard work. Do it. And in the meantime, when you don't have the answers, live with that fact. Just say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answer. What's so wrong with that? What's so bad about that? Okay, are we doing? And 42? Next one. So now I'm off to the next one. So, this one's got Emily in it. Emily and I, this is not the desert. Emily and I lingered at the beach tonight until it was nearly dark. Just before we left, a middle-aged man arrived, limping badly and wearing nothing more than a swimsuit and a beach towel around his neck. He deposited the towel on a rock and limped with difficulty straight into the sea. Once in the cold water and free of his bad leg, he began swimming powerfully out to sea, diving under a few large waves before making it clear of the surf. We watched him swim straight and direct, further and further as the night got darker and darker. We saw him swim past a family of dolphin, passing far beyond the last rocks, in water more than 50 feet deep. The man never veered his course or turned either up or down the coast, but kept straight for open ocean, swimming hard and fast. He must have been more than a quarter-mile out when darkness overtook our efforts to follow. My last sight of the man was a single swing of his arm, rising above the now black sea. I noticed the streetlights were on as Emily and I made our way back to the motorcycle, and I wondered if these would guide the man back to shore when he'd had enough of his solo nighttime winter ocean swim. Wow, that was going alone. I remember that day quite distinctly. We were living here. Emily and I hopped on the motorcycle, went down to Shaw's Cove in Laguna, where I do a lot of my swimming. This was in the wintertime, no less, this time of the year, very cold. And it was dark, nightfall. I mean, evening, sun had gone down, it was getting dark, and this old looking man came out limping hard with his little towel and put it on the ground, on the rock. So I guess he's coming back, and he just limped, kind of hobbled into the cold water, dove into the waves. I mean, he was muscled, he was very powerful. Clearly he does this a lot. And he began swimming powerfully. Once he was free of his leg, he could move freely, powerfully diving under the waves. And there really was a pod of dolphin that went by as he went past it. And as the night came down, he disappeared into the night in the ocean. Holy crap. Street lights were coming on. That's going alone. That's facing down the empty. That's facing down life. Can you imagine what a man like that, I don't know. I mean, if he has the same mental disposition and courage, can you imagine him taking on the reality of the world? You know, when people offer him canned propositions, here you go. I got you your worldview right here. Here you go. Here's Christianity. Here's Islam. Here's Buddhism. Here's being a Republican. Here's being a Democrat. Whatever the case may be, whatever canned, institutionalized way of thinking. Here's being spiritual, whatever the case may be. Instead of saying that, he's gonna say, it's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna go alone. I'll go out to a place like this and see what's out there. And maybe it's nothing. I'm moved by those people. Still wonder what happened to that guy. Lifeguards down there told me, I was talking to the lifeguard on that same beach that was telling me that the lifeguards in the summertime do find bodies along the coast there that just wash up. So I guess some people don't get back. The next part's a little short one. We just have a little bit of time. Just 2 sentences. I'm haunted by the desert now. The pole is powerful and relentless, like a vacuum drawing something to nothing. That was when I'd had a little bit of time. I hadn't been back in the desert for a while, and I could feel it pulling me back. Whoop, battery's going low. Hold on, let me fix that. I could feel the desert, the need to get back. It's funny, that need isn't out there so much anymore. I can go long stretches without the desert. I think that's because the lesson's been learned. And instead, it's much more important that I spend the time doing what I do now, which is living a good life. Like, I'm very fortunate that I have a job that allows me to pursue the common good. I work in the public sector for the government, helping people in need, and it's very important to me. I get a lot of satisfaction. It fulfills the need of going out to a place like this, seeing the emptiness out there, realizing that, and coming back and saying, rolling up my sleeve and saying, okay, I'm going to work hard and make the world a better place, and then die. But that's it. Next part. At the bookstore just now, I discovered a book titled Route 66 Ghost Towns. I eagerly read through the sections of the desert railroad communities of Essex, Amboy, Baghdad, Ludlow, Newberry Springs, and Daggett. The chapter ended with no mention of Siberia. It would seem I've made a good choice in selecting Siberia as my adopted hometown. I knew that when I had picked a ghost town to be my base camp that wasn't even listed on a summary of ghost towns of the Route 66 in the desert. So good job, yeah. Because the more disconnected, even with the starting off point, which, by the way, anyway, Siberia's off up there. More clue than I wanted to give out. Next one. So I'm getting ready to go back to the desert at this point in the book. By this time tomorrow, I'll be in Siberia. I'll arrive about an hour before sundown, as temps begin to descend from midday highs of around 110 degrees, 43 degrees Celsius. There are no ghosts in Siberia, though there is much that is dead. The void left by humanity's passing away here has made room for possession by the wind, the heat and cold, and the steady progress of time. These things ignore my presence, though they'd appear different if I was not alone. I'd see only ruin and desolation with another. With another, if I was with somebody else. I'd see only ruin and desolation with another. I'd see ghosts where there never were, which there never were. I screwed that last part up. So, it's really hot. I'm ready to go back to Siberia, and I'm thinking about how different it would be to go there if I brought somebody with me. And it would just be a ghost town. It would just be ruins. It would just be hot. It would just be windy, desolation. Not so if I go alone. If I go alone, I have to face that other thing. The great indifference. Next, I leave a thinning trail of connection with every mile I put between my life and the desert. Ooh, I remember writing this. I remember this so distinctly. I leave a thinning trail of connection with every mile I put between my life and the desert. This thread grows so slender that 100 miles out, I dangle like a spider on a silk strand. The melodramatic abyss looms, a humorous caricature of nature, if only it weren't so real. No, a humorous caricature of nature, if only it weren't so real. I hang there for a day, in the wind and the sun, knowing the threat of exposure is nothing compared to the frailty of that one long, slender thread. I remember this so well. I wrote this on the way out to the desert, about Barstow, just past Barstow, as I could feel like I was, the further out into the desert I was getting, it was the little thin thread of connection all the way back to Irvine and the connection with my family. And I would get way out there in the desert, park the bike, and then hike out into the deep water wilderness out here. And that thread would be so thin out there, such a danger of snapping and never get back, even if I get back. It's a pretty scary thought. I'm getting the chills again. Last one. The steep and rugged mountains of Japan. This is one that I had struggled with. This one, I almost didn't want to include this in the book because I just couldn't get. This is one that I struggled writing. You said a lot before that a lot of stuff comes easy. This one didn't come easy. The steep and rugged mountains of Japan never scared me. Even that time I ran. No, this is not it. This is a different one. The steep and rugged mountains of Japan never scared me. Even that time I ran from the mother boar, and again, several times when giant hornets swarmed to check me out, the mountains were far too civilized with life to offer any real threat. Not human life, but life itself. The mere fact that the landscape had a pulse, and a vibrant one at that, dissuaded my fear and alleviated my apprehension. Even to die in those remote, unpeopled mountains would be to pass in the embrace of what is both familiar and alive. The desert offers no such comfort. What lives there is sparse, mute, and still. There's little hum, or buzz, or grunt, just some howl from time to time. That howl, which carries lonesome sentiment, not really, but I'll talk about it, which carries lonesome sentiment and a desperate pleading. Even birdsong sings of solitude. The wind speaks loudest here, and the sun burns its case without respite from sunup to sundown. I fear the desert, even before I go. Okay, I'll finish today's reading with that one bit. Contrasting Japan, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm so glad that I came back from Japan. In Japan, it was just wilderness. It was just adventure. It was just wild. Hold on. It was just wild, remote places and things like that. Here, it is not that. It is the great indifference. I could not perceive the great indifference in Japan because it was masked by the fecundity of life. You know, the mountains there are just green and lush, and is it gone? Looks like it froze. Okay, let's see. Well, it looks like it made a froze, but just in case it's still recording, America has none of that. It is here in America. It is in the desert. It is emptiness, and it is nothing. And there's a deep emptiness out there that evokes and elicits my sensibilities and my sense regarding the great indifference. And it looks like this thing is frozen, so I'm going to check it online real quick, and then we'll probably go ahead and finish up. Just when I was getting all wound up. Let's see. Yeah, looks like it froze. Well, that's it.